All right. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'm not good. Maybe the honest answer is that I am stressed and I hit a wall today.
Yeah. I
That's the
mean,
honest answer. Who's
I
really being honest when someone says, "How are you?" and you're just like, "Oh, fine. Everything's
I'm
fine."
fine. Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
know.
crying on the floor of my bathroom a couple hours ago. Everything's great.
Everything's great. I know. But at the same time, it is important to be honest. I think I learned that the hard way a few years ago. Like people would say, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, do at moments I would think in my head, do you want the honest answer or do you want the and so mine would be like right now at this moment I'm doing great.
Yes.
But I think that we're in a
Ask people, do you want the honest answer or do you want like the polite answer?
right, because sometimes the honest answer, like right now, the honest answer that you're not doing that great, that's awesome because I think that most people in the world right now are not doing great. I think we're
So,
all struggling with, like, we're now in week whatever of coronavirus.
right.
We're starting to really like dive into the fact that things didn't get better this summer like we might have thought they would
Yes,
have.
that one.
That our normal is now this new place of like wearing masks wherever we go and thinking twice about, do we do X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And is it all helping? And then I think there are several parents, and I put you in this boat of like having to make really heavy decisions right now in a time when all you've been doing is like surviving. And that I think a lot of it goes to like the subconscious of what is happening this fall with school.
Right.
And I can't imagine parents walking around with stress because you've got this stress anyway of trying to be like good humans for your little humans
It's
and teach
not
them.
not fun. I mean, so I think I took up the practice of like answering people honestly of how are you doing a couple of years ago, but like I also try really hard to like positive spin on things.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I just today I lost it. Like I don't know. I guess we'll talk about this. I thought I was going to
Yeah.
cry if I talked about this, but I think I'm actually okay. I'm a couple of hours past it. I've had this conversation like once or twice. I went out and had lunch with a friend, which was so necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my husband's working at home right now, and he's so I'll just preface this. He's like the best human ever. We have an
Mm-hmm.
amazing partnership. He's phenomenal. He's like not at all like the stereotypical dude, right? He's really good.
Right.
But he's working at home. He got up, he made coffee, which is very sweet, and then he went right into my office and started taking his phone calls and video conferences.
Right. And working.
Yep, and working because he's working at home, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine, except for the fact that that's like we share an office, but I work at home, so I consider it my office. And
Right.
I work. I mean, I don't work like full-time hours like he does. If we're honest, I run a multi-million-dollar business and it doesn't take me full-time hours to do it. It's awesome. I love what I do.
Right.
But I did have a plan for this morning. One was recording with you, and the other was like 5 things on my to-do list that I needed to knock out. And he took over the office and the kids were needy. So I made the choice to parent because every single day I'm forced to make the decision of working and parenting. And
Right.
frequently I have to give up time that I'm working to be there for our
Parents.
kids.
Right.
And it didn't even occur to him
Right.
to ask what my day looked like, to tell
Right.
me what his day looked like, nor, to be fair, did I start that conversation. I wasn't like,
Right.
hey, tell me about your day since you're in my space. I heard this morning, oh, I just have this quick call and I just have to listen. I don't think I have to talk, which means that I can't listen to what I needed to listen to finish my work.
Right.
It's fine. But then it wasn't fine. Like I got annoyed and then I was like waiting. I waited 2 hours to talk with him this morning to have a conversation about a couple of things because he had
Mm-hmm.
back to back to back meetings, which is how his day goes. But that's not how it works when you have kids. They need breakfast,
Right.
they have whatever, they need to be entertained. They just
Right.
needed stuff. So I chose the parenting route, missed our meeting, was super pissed at myself for doing it. And then I went upstairs to get ready because I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to go to this lunch. I'm going to keep going with my
Mm-hmm.
day. I'm just going to try and pick up my little like pants and dust everything off and get going. Right. And he walked into our bathroom and I let him have it. And frankly, I'm not even really mad at him necessarily.
Yeah.
I just think it's a communication issue with the two of us. But what
Right.
I'm really mad is that this virus has put us in like old school gender roles, which I did
Right.
not sign up for. Like, I am not built to be a housewife. I am not built to be a stay-at-home mom. I run a business that I'm incredibly passionate about and I love. And my job is important to me and to like thousands of other people on my team.
Right.
So it's kind of a big deal. And it makes me crazy that his schedule comes before mine, just because that's the normal cycle of things. He has a 9-to-5 job. He works from certain hours to certain hours.
Right.
Is that
I
your
know. It isn't. It isn't. It isn't. Because I think, I mean, I've been feeling the same way right now. I mean, I'm on furlough. And so what do? I do like housekeeping things and homemakery type stuff and like keep things going and, you know, all of that stuff. And in some ways it's cool to go back to some of those things. Like, it's been great because I've learned how to can. I never took any interest in that when my mom was alive. And, you know, my mom was a great teacher. She taught a friend of mine in college who was so interested in it, and I could have cared less, and I was in the same room. And I'm like, you know, I should have been more grateful for those opportunities, but you're a kid and you don't know how to pay attention to that stuff. And so, you know, I'm doing that sorts of thing, but yet I look at myself and I'm like, but I am cut out for so much more than what I'm doing. But because of the world that we're living in, I mean, in some ways there's a great like swing to, it's so great to be able to have this time. But when you're not communicating about how that impacts where you're at, that's the struggle. And that's the eternal that we're in, is like, how do we communicate with the people that we love and care about the frustrations that we're having about this
like
global circumstance.
Left to whatever's happening, he just does his normal day. He just goes and has his meetings, whether he's here or in the office. And it doesn't occur to him that like our kids need stuff. Like, the reason they're not bothering him is because I'm making sure they don't bother him. He will do this for me, but I have to be like, hey, I have this thing. And like, if I don't communicate that, he doesn't just like make them leave alone unless I've blown a gasket. And then like for a week, it's really, really good because he's like very sensitive to the fact that I just got real pissed. I don't know what to do. Like, the whole thing stresses me out. And I don't expect Bill to like solve this, but I know I'm not the only woman in this boat. Like, I'm making a lot of the meals because they have to eat all the damn time. They breakfast, lunch, dinner, and 47 snacks a day here. And I'm the one it's in charge of all that shit. And I don't even like to cook. So like, that's happening. And then like, we're just not talking about the schedule, but either way, like my husband's in like a very traditional job. At what point is he going to like go to a CEO and be like, hey, I'm going to need to like only work in the afternoon because like my like wife's got stuff going on in the morning and we're flip-flopping our schedules. Like, will he do that and will he get left out of his job?
I don't know, but I think that is a valid question that not only your family is going to have to like consider right now because of what happens this fall.
Yeah, it's going to get worse because like, let's be real. Like, if they go to school, it'll be 5 seconds before somebody gets sick and gets COVID and then quarantine for 2 weeks, and then they're homeschooling no matter what. And I'm going to be the one making sure that they do their stuff because, and this makes me sound ungrateful for my job. And I don't want it to be like that at all. I love what I do. And I am so grateful for the flexibility. And ever since we made this decision, Bill said the same thing. We made the best decision ever. Like, your business is amazing. It gives us all the flexibility we need as a family, but like, being the flexible person is totally maddening sometimes. And like now, I just feel like a 1950s housewife, and in no way, shape, or form am I a 1950s housewife. No. I mean, I did have an urge to make a pie the other day, but that was because I wanted to eat the pie, not because
not because you wanted to make it. Well, and I think I think I see friends. So what I see in friends relationships is much of the same. Like, when two parents work, somehow the default of the children needing things falls to the mom.
Always.
And then they readjust their schedule if a child is sick. They have readjusted their schedules to homeschool. They have readjusted, you know, so much. And I think that there is a point where, like, I know my sister has said a couple of times, like, what about dads?
Yeah. No, and my mother-in-law listens to this. Sorry, Judy. But I got a text from her to like the women in her family, and it was the ladies who are moms and teachers. And it was like, hey moms, here's an article from a doctor about going back to school. And I read it and I was immediately pissed because everything that has to do with our household and our kids falls on me. My husband is also a parent. He also cares about what happens and has a decision and do they go to school or not. Like, not just me. So I tried really hard to like filter myself, but my first text back was, dads also care about their kids, not just moms. And she texted me later and was like, I'm really sorry if I offended you. I was texting from my laptop. I can only send messages to people who have a Mac, which A, is not true because I text Bill from my laptop all the time. But B, I don't think she thought about it. And she's pretty progressive. So I just think that she sent the note out to like the people who have to make the decisions. And I just resent so much the fact that like I'm the one stuck in this boat having to make all of these decisions and dinner and do my job and do whatever. So like I feel like my brain is mush half the time and I'm frustrated. So I did like yell at him today. Not really.
And then what else did you do?
And I cried and I sobbed on the floor of my bathroom, and Bill picked me up, and I was kind of pissed because I wasn't really ready to get up, but I did have to leave. And so while I was like trying not to look like I'd been sobbing and doing my makeup, I put on a meditation and was like, and it was about patience. So I was like, okay, here's the thing that I know, like, this is not going to end anytime soon. Like I thought a month ago, like send the kids back to school. We're going to be so great. And the numbers are going the wrong way. So like, I thought the patience meditation was good. And I did calm down enough to like not really look like I had been sobbing, and like made it to lunch and had the conversation with my friend, and we kind of like hammered it out. I don't think she's as tired as I am. She's a single parent, so divorced family. And so like she doesn't have her kids this week. They're with their dad.
Sure.
And so, like, even though this is really stressful and she's solo parenting 50% of the time. I have a parent buddy and I parent 100% of the time. And I haven't been alone since March, unless I like go for a walk or leave in the car and sit in the parking lot by myself. That's not when you're used to more. And so, I mean, I'm used to 50-50. I demanded it. We didn't have kids until we were at the point where it was 50-50. So like, I was grateful for the meditation, Michelle, because I think that was like the thing that like brought me back to center and was like, okay, I just have to get through this. And I don't know that it does me any good to be ragey about this, because let's be real, like it is the scenario that we're in, and ragey isn't going to fix it. But I also feel like there's nothing for caregivers right now. Like
there isn't.
How do we, if we don't get ragey about it, is everyone just assume that we're doing great? I don't know.
I don't know what the answer is, but I think you're right. Like until people vocalize the, like, get beyond the I'm fine and the politeness, I mean, it's no matter, it's the same. Same circumstance, but different. We're, as we talked about previously, you know, we're a society that's grieving a lot of things right now. And so I take this back to like where I first was when my husband passed away, or even when my mom passed away, or even when my father-in-law passed away. In those moments of you don't know what else to do, like it's so easy to say that you're fine when you're really maybe not. And I know that for a long time, you know, I would call my mom and be like, hey mom, how are you? She's like, I'm fine. Mom's fine. And I'm like, okay. When she would like just go on and on about how she was fine, I'm like, clearly you're not fine. There's something going on. But she was trying to be nice and not try to, burden on her children. Different things. Or, you know, I would call, and the thing that if she called me and asked me how I was after everything, I would say, Mom, you know what? I'm not fine. And let's talk about that if you feel comfortable with it, because that's where I'm at and that's what I need to get off my chest to someone else. I don't necessarily want you to carry this for me. I can carry it myself, but I need a break from it. And I think that we are, as a society, we tend to want to overstrong everything and carry all of our burdens ourselves. But I don't think that people are being vocal enough about how hard it is to manage a family and manage a work life.
Right. You know, I think what it is right now is that like women just always need more. Like when things
They
happen,
do.
you get a bigger plate and you figure
Exactly.
most men don't have the same struggles that we have. And I don't mean to generalize, but like I don't know many men that are rearranging their schedules right now to manage their children. I don't know many men who are like calling in because if their kids are sick. Like my husband did come home yesterday because Aaliyah's not feeling great. He came home as soon as he found out. However, it's also company policy that he can't be there if someone's sick. So, I mean, he took her to the doctor. That was amazing and like the first time in a long time. So I'm not trying to rag on Bill or dudes in general.
No.
I just think that like the hard part about sending the alarm and saying this isn't okay and I'm not okay is I think people are worried about like if you have a job, people are really grateful for it. So acting like this is not okay puts you in this spot where like you could be at risk or someone doesn't think that you're grateful enough for your job or that you're not strong enough to carry it. And let's be real, like I don't know anybody who's strong enough to do this pandemic thing all the time.
Well, that's all we're living in is the pandemic. And no one is strong enough for it because there's no one that's prepared us for this because this is like an unprecedented place in life. And it's much like the same with grief. Like no one prepares you for it until you're in it. And once you're in it, like you have like this whole range of emotion. And yes, you realize every day, like I remember like the very first days, like a friend of mine's saying, and she would call me almost daily for a long time, what are 3 things you're grateful for today? And like the grateful could be as simple as I got out of bed today. But it's that moment of like you strip back down to the basics of what are most important, and we've done that now, and we've been living in what's most important for a while. And I think now we're at a point where mental health is just becoming so much more crucial because no one's getting a break.
Right.
And that's the sad part. Like we're not getting a break from the news because we probably shouldn't be.
Well,
we're not getting
like everybody else, I'm scrolling so much and then watching all the discussion about masks and everything else. So like we're kind of doing it for ourselves, watching the news, being on social, any of that stuff.
Right.
So,
and that's the tricky part. And that's where I go back to when it all gets to be too much for me, I start meditating. And I find myself doing a lot more of that lately.
Whether Dave died, Michelle, did you meditate before Dave died?
No, I never meditated before Dave died, but I started immediately because I couldn't sleep. So one of my friends who was with me at that during that first week, she had been using an app called Calm. So she made sure she got that on my phone, and that at least helped me fall asleep at night. And then, so I did that for about 30 days. And then on the app, I liked this feature, which I needed, which was a breathing cycle, and it reminded you to breathe, and you could play it for as long as you needed to. And it would like chime to breathe in, it would chime to breathe out, and it would chime to like hold your breath. And to me, that was just like going back down to, if I'm gonna almost like lose it, at least I can like lock myself in the room for a little bit and remember how to breathe. And I then remember, then I did a paid subscription to it, and I have ever since. But what I've liked about the app is that when I don't know what else to do, I can turn anything on, and in it will help me, whether I need to find like a 10-minute guided journey, whether I need to do like a body release, whether I need to listen to the daily Calm. All of it seems to find a way to resonate with me. And sometimes I will re-listen to many of the daily Calms over and over and over again because I they find what I need. But I did the same thing that you did a lot when I would like just be so overcome with emotion that I didn't know what to do. Crying is the easiest release, to just get it all out there. And then afterwards I would like meditate to like bring myself back. So, I mean,
I'm not a crier, so this was a really uncomfortable, different situation for me today. Like I did not expect to lose it. I was I was really like, before Bill came upstairs, I was like, this is not his fault. Like, it's just communication. It's frustrating. This is nobody's fault. It's frustrating. And then I unleashed on him, which was not kind. And I did apologize and try to, like, you know, bring him food to make up for it.
Well, I mean, and those are all important things too, because I mean, sadly, sometimes the only thing that you can do in the moment, at least you didn't hold it in and unload it on him like 3 days later or 5 days later. You did it in the moment. May not have been kind, but at least it gives you guys something to go back about and talk about.
Well, he didn't, he just took it, and because he really was like, I don't know what to say. Like, this sucks and I don't know how to make it better. And I appreciated that. Dude, I've had this Calm app on my phone for a really long time. I've never used it. I used,
what do you use?
I used Headspace for a really long time. And I was really like looking at this right now because I want to see, I had a streak at one point that like was pretty awesome. And, I felt good about it when I was doing it, but I haven't like, and now I use it for bedtime. Like I have, play it almost every night just to kind of wind down because I can't shut my brain off even more than normal with this, which seems, but that's been my issue. So Headspace worked. It's kind of expensive and I'm trying to decide if I want to keep up with it because I use it, but I also got a Peloton, and Peloton's app has all kinds of cool things. So not only is there the bike, but there's strength and yoga and cardio, and they have meditation and all this other stuff. And so I did a Peloton meditation today because they have like 5-minute ones, 10 minutes, 15, like you can really hang out. And so I was like, well, if I'm paying for this anyway, maybe I should just do that. That was kind of my thought. But it really helps. And it really, I mean, I don't meditate in, I think, the traditional way. And I don't know how you do it, but I feel like I like needed to learn how to do this and no one talks about it. Cause like frequently in the beginning, they're like, sit down and rest and close your eyes. I don't sit still for shit. Like I just don't. So I can't sit right now comfortably. Like I'm sitting for this, but my hip hurts and that's a whole different story. So I stood quietly and I did my makeup and I listened and just tried to slow my breathing and I was like, I'm just going to do this one task. I'm going to listen and I'm going to think. And that was it. I don't know if you sit still and close your eyes and you do all the things.
At first I didn't. No, I mean, you should, but you feel like you should. But as I've learned and talked to other people that meditate and do, however you make your practice to be that works for you, that's what works for you. And so some people might find that standing because of X, Y, and Z is more important. I find that I do my best meditating when I'm lying down. Sometimes I close my eyes, sometimes I don't. I don't really like fall asleep, but I can definitely tell that it helps calm my breathing and kind of help me get centered. And so for me, the laying down, but I know some people sit in a comfortable chair and they meditate while seated. Some people like do different yoga poses on a yoga mat and that's how they meditate. I think that all of it works. It's just a matter of finding what works best for you. And as long as you can find the results of a calm presence and like focusing on that moment and nothing else, then I would say that that meditation worked for you. But it's a trial and error is what I'm learning. That different times your body and your mental capacity need different things, but the slowing down and taking those 5-10 minutes for yourself, it really does make a big, for me, I've noticed in 4 years that it really does make a big difference in my day if I meditate or if I don't. And I know that sometimes when I've been struggling and I talk with my counselor, the first thing she says is, how have you been meditating lately? And I'm like, oh, okay. So at least she's tuned in enough with me to know that that's been something that I added to my life. And that when I feel like things aren't going right, that's the one reminder to go back to. And then she's helped me to create little mantras, like when I get into stressful circumstances or when things are weighing heavy on me, that I can like create some like mantras and words and put them and repeat them to myself throughout the day and put them out into the universe, so that when I get into those circumstances that might be uncomfortable, I have some of that to remind myself. And that self-talk sometimes has been really helpful for me. Especially I struggled a lot with having a relationship with my father-in-law. So after my husband passed away, just because the expectations that he had of me, I struggled with. And so to help me manage that relationship, we created some things so that I could focus on that, you know, I'm having the relationship because he is my husband's father, and, you know, just trying to create positivity, and, you know, things going on in his life don't have to impact mine, because
Right.
sometimes you want to take on everybody's things.
You're the oldest child, aren't you?
I am the oldest child, and I want to try to keep peace, and I want to make everybody happy, and I want to do all of the things, and I want to please everybody, and I'm a type A personality. And so, I mean, I just got this whole list of stuff right there. And so when I do struggle with how it all works, I find that, you know, I go on a really great cycle of meditation, and then things go good, and then I still do it, but maybe not as much. But I know that the meditation is always there for me. And I think that I would find like more in it if I would make it a more purposeful practice every day. But sometimes life happens.
Well, I think it's awesome. So I found this thing today, and it said, is your love language really acts of service, or are you just an eldest daughter who's been conditioned into serving your family and therefore your other loved ones? And I was like, oh, girl.
Oh yeah. Oh girl. Like totally me. Like is my, and I don't know, I feel like my love language is food, but maybe that's a different topic.
I'm sure that's my favorite love language. Like, you make me something delicious and I'm kind of yours. Like, that might be what happened with Bill and I. He might have made me dinner one time and maybe I never left.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, hey, I know good food when I eat it as well, and certainly will stick around if it keeps on getting better and better.
Right? No kidding. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like this may be more ranty, and maybe we should have done this one with wine, but I think that this is also like, hopefully it's validating for other people who are going through this and maybe have not had a mental breakdown yet, or a crying bathroom moment with your spouse. But I'm curious, and if anybody else out there is meditating or finding something else to kind of manage your anxiety and frustration as we go through this. I think it's really human and normal.
It is.
And I don't know how else to do this and carry it, because it's heavy, and like, it's just
well,
heavy.
And I think that that's the other thing is like, how do you unburden the heavy things? Because we don't need to be carrying them around with us, but yet what do we do with them?
Right. The problem, I think, is that everybody's carrying heavy things, because we're all going through this pandemic. It's all damn hard.
Right.
And I think I guess is that at least you're not alone. Like, you're not the only one who's having the struggle, who's trying to balance your job, your career, like your mental health. Like, make sure that you stay married through the whole process.
Right.
I mean,
make sure that you just try to stay sane and with it. I mean, but I think the underlying thing is that we're going to have a society of like all kinds of underlying mental health issues that come out because of a pandemic and everyone's concerns with it. And I think that that's like, I don't know,
about mental health is that like, you can't just fix it. Like, you don't get surgery, you don't get a pill. I mean, you can get a pill, but like, it takes work. It takes managing your mindset. It takes being an active participant in your own like health and wellness.
Right.
And it's hard when you're carrying everything else. But if you do those things, like if you manage your mindset and if you take time and you pause and you reflect and you're
right,
a lot of that can actually solve a lot of issues. I mean, it definitely doesn't like kill a virus, but
it doesn't make it go away, but it helps you like be in the moment a little bit easier. But that's like, and that's so hard. And, you know, neither one of us are experts when it comes to meditation or anything else. We can just say like what works for us. And, you know, we can list some other things in our show notes too, for people to maybe have takeaways. But, you know, I would say like,
looking to crowdsource, man. Tell us what works for you. Like, is there a different app? Is there a practice? Is there a time of day? Is like journaling working for you? Is like, do you go outside and scream? Do you like hide into your shower? Like, what are you doing to survive? Because I feel like I either need a new technique or I need more patience, and that's not a virtue I came with, but I don't know.
And how do you get patience? You can't just like magically like create patience. Now I'm a patient person.
Right.
And
I mean, the reality is this is not going to be over soon. Like, it's not going to just go away. So we are going to live in this awkward, weird space for some time yet.
Right. We're in the middle now.
Right.
See, at the beginning of this, we thought that, okay, if we can just get through new normal, everything will be fine. We can go back to old normal. Well, old normal, I don't think is going to exist anymore. So now we're,
Michelle, I think before we launched the podcast, and I remember you were like, okay, everything's on lockdown and mentally I'm okay if we're here, but if they extend it, you're like, I don't know if I can do this. The problem now is that there's not even a date.
No,
there's nothing. We just know that it's
nothing.
going to be a while.
Yep.
Like,
what's a while? It's like we're kids all over again. What's a while? Like, come back inside in a while.
How many things? Like, how much longer? Like, I feel like I'm a small child and I just want to keep asking, like, how many more minutes? When do we get there? Someone's looking out my window. Like, I don't know.
And then meanwhile, I'm looking around for an adult that's more adulty than me, because like I need someone to tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing some days, because I mean, that's the way and that's just the way I feel. And I think a lot of adults feel that way, but yet you've got children that you have responsibility for. And so like now you're carrying two sets of things.
Right.
And like, we're all in this, but the stuff we have is so different, but yet it's all the same. And so it's so complicated. And I hate that we're in a pandemic. I wish like 2020 we could just get a do-over on, and like this year, doesn't count or something, but that doesn't gonna happen either. So
in my film this morning, I was like, oh my God, like stop the world. I want to get off. Cause I definitely am sick of adulting, but I don't think we get to be sick of it. And I don't want to wish any time away, because we get time.
Right.
I'm trying to find, like there are definitely beautiful things about this.
There are.
There are days like today where it's really hard to see them or be excited about how beautiful they are, because the grass, greener where you water it. Like if you're all pissed off like I am today, your grass
is no green grass. It's not growing the best. But the beauty is that you can acknowledge that. And maybe there's something salvageable yet in the day, and that tomorrow is a new day. Like you get to go to bed tonight and say goodbye to this day. And tomorrow doesn't have to be today. Like you've only lived this day today. You'll never have to live this day again.
I didn't even look at my calendar for tomorrow.
No, and don't. So today, like, you know what? Today, do the things necessary to just function and live. And then, and look at your calendar at some point. Get yourself mentally prepared for tomorrow. But today, this day, you only have to live today. Right. You'll never have to redo this day again. And that's like, that should be something to at least say, okay, you know what? These feelings are valid. This day is valid. And I've learned something from it to take into the next day because I had this day.
Right. I should probably.
And maybe it is going to meditating. And you know what? We will stay tuned and crowdsource with our friends and see if anyone's got things that they've got working for them. And, you know, we can keep deep diving into this.
I think we should. All right, let's wrap this up. This is way too long, but I think we should call in a professional next time, and I'm going to send a text as soon as I'm done recording and see if I'll in my favorite professional. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, that sounds good. I'd love that. Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye, peeps. Make sure you tell us in the show notes, in the comments, and all the places, like what you think, where you're at, and what you're finding that is helping you. That's what we need to know. Bye.
Yes.
Stop.